Hi everyone, now this is the fly I'm going to be tying. Now this fly is called the Carson. It's basically it's a partner of mine I tied many years ago. Now I have this on YouTube. I just watched, I've seen the footage and it's well out of date, and at the moment I'm actually putting together a box of Irish flies, and the Carson is one definitely to add into that box. Now, so I thought, well, refilm it. I'll tie it slightly different. The only difference being, in the original I used natural bronze mallard, and this one I'm using dyed cinnamon. So it's basically a bronze mallard feather, not well marked, nicely marked, but not got a lot of bronze in it. So I like to dye them, especially cinnamon, and other colours. All those really good, and a few other colours I like. But this cinnamon one works extremely well, and it goes with this fly, especially because of the orange and the hackle and in the tail. Now this fly's, how can I put it? Story behind it. I'll tell you a wee quick story behind it. It was named after a gentleman that basically was fishing with a friend of mine. They were members of banks that were the Irish Bank and the Northern Bank and the Clydesdale Bank in Scotland. And they fished against one another. They fished in Scotland one year and then they fished in Ireland the next. But Ian, the friend that I know in Scotland, decided to fall in, come out the boat into the loch, and Mr. Carson rescued Ian. Well, basically told him to grab the side of the boat and he motored in. So he asked me as a thank you, could I tie a fly called the Carson? And this was the fly I came up with. And it's, to say it's caught a lot of fish over the years and won competitions, it's been a top one, a great pattern. So anyway, I'm going to tie it, I'm going to redo it, and as I say, the only difference I'm going to be doing is using a dyed cinnamon bronze mallard. The rest is much the same. Thread I'm going to be using is the Charteuse thread in 8/0. So I'm just going to wax it, make sure it's got plenty of grip. The hook I'm using is a Full and Mill. This is basically the competition heavyweight size 10. I'm just going to run my thread down. I'm going to form a small tag, and it is optional where you use the tag on it. I'm using the Opal Mirage. I'm going to use two sizes, one for the tag and one for the head. I put some in the head. So I'm using the medium for the tag. Now when I'm taking it off the spool, I give it a wee stretch. Now when you stretch it, I've got a piece here already done. It goes blue like, goes a lovely colour, and I like that, especially over the Chartreuse thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come round the bend about just over 2 mil. Come back up to the point where it's just starting to level up. Now to protect this, I'm going to wind it over. You can use just some varnish, or in this case I'm using some super glue. So we just wind this onto the top of it. You could put resin over the top, which I did originally. I did put resin on over the top, but this is the quickest way. That'll hold it. Now the tail was 2 colours. I'm using a cock hackle, this dyed hot orange. I put some on. Now you can put them on individually, because I put bronze mallard over the top, but you're looking at the length of the hook over the back. So just tie it on the top a couple of turns. Check my length, that's fine. So this is some of the dye. This is the tip of one of the feathers. It's got a nicer, the fibres at the top of these feathers stay open a wee bit better. This one, that's fine. So you want a good half dozen fibres. And when you leave this on top, so just tie it right on the top, and then a couple of turns to hold, and then we just start to wind up. Hopefully it's opened out slightly, and that's fine. So we trim this to length, and then we work our way up. You may hear my neighbour's dog barking there. It's a wee Jack Russell. Just likes to tell everybody he's there when they walk by. So anyway, we want a nice fine gold wire. I'm just going to get some out, I ran out. You're looking for a small gold wire as a rib. Just going to catch this on the way back down, it's easier to do that. You want a good underbody of the chartreuse thread. I like to see that colour come through. Make sure you're right down to the tag, it's fine. Now I'm using that, you can use a pale of, dark, medium, olive, you can mess about. The original was just this nice sort of olive, sort of kind of light. Just seal's fur or whatever you have. I used seal's fur in this case. Just lightly dab it on. As I say, don't worry too much if you see the chartreuse thread coming through. Just make sure this starts at the back. It's fine. Just work your way up. Just a wee touch more. Not much, just a wee touch. You need to see, you need a good, I would say around about 3 to 4 mil from the eye to do this fly. Just give yourself plenty of room. Now the body hackle is a very pale olive, or a brown olive. I've dyed, this is actually a brown olive dye. It's a white Cape I had, a saddle. This one's a Kirch. I mean, you use whatever you've got. You could use normal, you could use a neck if you want. But obviously white. And then what I did with this, just a tiny drop of the brown olive dye, and you get this very pale colour, and this works a treat. So we just cast this on the side, like 2 or 3 turns. I do a turn, at least a turn at the top, and then I quickly come through. So that's 1, 2, 3, into the 4th turn. I bring round my wire and I catch it on, and I just continue up with the rib. You're around about 5 times or so. That'll obviously protect it. The last turn I just bring it up, draw back the fibre. I just roll my fingers through to draw the fibres back so I can bring my thread up. So I follow up with my thread, put a 90-degree bend into the wire. That locks it in. Keeps the thread turns, or the wire, nice and tight. Once you've got a good half dozen turns in, bend and break away the wire. I wax my thread again, make sure it's nice and tight. And then we come in, trim away our hackle. That's fine, it looks okay. I'm going to add a wee bit of orange. Now I'm using a badger saddle. This is a nice badger I had, which I dyed hot orange. Now again, you could use a saddle, you could use a cape, it's up to yourself. Try and get a well marked one. So we just bare the stem, catch it in. You're looking for a couple of turns, so I usually just fold the fibre. So there's one, into the 2nd turn. That's plenty, just adding a wee touch of colour. Make sure it's secure. Trim away. Again, make sure you wax your thread. You need the grip. So come down, tidy that area up, come back up. Now you've got a good couple of mil there, at least, at the head area. Now you've got another one of the feathers. Now these feathers are as I say, they're well marked, but they don't have a lot of bronze in them. So by dyeing them a colour, like in this case, this is a cinnamon dye I get for vineyards. So I'm going to bring out a few fibres, I'll bring them 90 degrees out. So they're basically lining up. So just keep it on the stem. Just take your time trying to line them up as best you can, as close as you can. Once you're happy, then you can tear it away from the feather. Now what's happened here, well, it's okay, but sometimes what happens, take this one away, the part of the stem comes away. You could keep that on if you want, because I want to try and keep it sort of curved like as I roll it round. It's important that you do wax the thread, because you need the grip, as I say. If you imagine that you want a wing on this fly, you put a length so it just comes to the back of the hook there. So catch that, just sit it on the top, right in the centre of the, so it's 3/4 of an inch. So we just get the length we want, and then we just fold it round with our fingers, just bring it round, and then come round with a couple of turns, nice and tight, 2 or 3 more, and see how it's going to sit. Now that's ideal. Don't make sure it doesn't move, especially when you go to cut it. Make sure you get turns in there. Even if it's too many turns, you can always go back, so that at least you can trim it away and then go back with the thread turns to add on your hackle. There we are. Now once I'm there, I'm going to take my thread to the eye and then work into these cut ends. Now you could finish with that. I mean, that's a nice pattern in itself. But I'm going to put a Partridge hackle dyed olive in the front. Now it could be a grey Partridge. The grey Partridge hackle does dye, you get a bit more of an olive from it rather than the brown, which will be darker, but you can use both. Use either, sorry. Now what I've done here is I've obviously taken away the fluff, got the tip of the feather with my hackle pliers, drawn back basically the fibre I want for the hackle, and we trim this, tie this on, make sure it's caught in, fold back the hackle, want this nice and blend and mix. Nice. I usually, well, it depends on the feather. Most times I do use up the full feather. Just work my way down. Just take my time. Catch it on. I want a good 3 or 4 turns in. Trim away the stem. I'm just going to tidy up. See how it's sitting. There we are. Now, I should have a length. Now, the size I'm going to be using now in the Opal Mirage. Now, you could use Crystal Flash. I've used quite a few things over the years. But you can buy number 16 in the Opal Mirage. Get a length of that. Catch it on. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, what a dressing. A lot of stuff on there. Now, these are type of Irish flies that you would find. I mean, this is sometimes even light. But this is a good pattern. Now, as you can see, I'm winding it on to get a nice, bright, pearl-like type head with the Opal Mirage. Now, when you catch it on the turn, fold it back, just lay it back, and then keeping the thread tight, don't let it go, and then you want to whip finish. Just at the eye area, just to leave that band of pearl. You've no idea how much that shows up, especially even the tag. It all makes a difference. But you can, again, you could leave it off, you could just leave it if you don't like it. But this is the original dressing, so they're very close to it. As I say, all I've done is use cinnamon dyed bronze mallard feathers. Never throw the weak coloured ones. As long as the bronze mallard feathers came from that area, you can easily dye them. Now what I'm going to do now is just got a varnish right here there. Before I put the varnish on, I'll take it away. There's always a fibre. So going back in. It's just normal varnish. Just be careful, you don't want it running onto your feathers. There we go. And that's the Carson. Now if you can tie these style of flies, all other flies are very easy. Because you have to work with proportions, especially when you're working with flies like these. And there we are. So that's the Carson. So I hope a wee bit better. The old video is a bit rough, meaning a bit the quality wise. So there we go. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and again, thanks for watching.